Don't do what I say. Let's say you go to update your motherboard BIOS. Now the motherboard is less than a year old. You copy the BIOS update to your USB flash memory stick, plug it into your system's USB port, and go into the BIOS setup screen when you boot the system. Oops, there's no support for updating a USB drive. That's fairly stupid in this day and age. But wait, it gets better. So you dig out a floppy drive, connect it to the system temporarily. You find a floppy disk buried somewhere in your damn desk drawer, and you do a hard format to make sure there's no bad sectors. If you're paranoid, you'll even do a surface scan, because the last thing you need is a bricked motherboard because the BIOS update croaked due to a bad disk read after erasing the existing BIOS. So you boot from the floppy, running the BIOS update, which then informs you, warning, do not update the BIOS from floppy. Really? You're kidding. You know, I suppose you could update from a hard drive, but that means the file system needs to be readable. Most motherboard companies now offer nifty utilities that update your BIOS from within Windows. That's a nice convenience, but not particularly useful if you're updating the BIOS pre-OS install. Recently, I know somebody that tried to install a game demo for Silverfall, which they downloaded from Steam. Now, one of the first things that you do when the game starts is to configure the graphics settings. But the config program assumed that he was running at the default 96 ppi, but he wasn't. He uses large fonts. Now, this meant that the OK button wasn't visible, and the developer hadn't enabled the window to use scroll bars. Not only that, but the config app wouldn't let him tab through the OK button. He had to reconfigure Vista for 96 dpi, and then run the config program again to use it. That's just plain old dumb design. Dumb software developers' lack of focus. When I say lack of focus, I mean when you get a text entry box on your screen, there'll be a blinking cursor, but you'll go to type and nothing will type in because that box doesn't have focus. Whatever application is foremost on your computer is what's got focus. If you're using Word, that has focus, so that's what you can type in. Now, when you start up Steam manually, the Valve software solution for downloadable content, especially games, the password entry dialog has focus. Now, if I start up Steam automatically when Windows boots, the blinking cursor's there, but I can't type in the password dialog box. It lacks focus, and it sucks. It's little things like that that suck. Little things like that that show lack of attention to detail. Reconfiguring DPI on Vista. Now, when you reconfigure the font size on XP, it asks you to reboot the first time you do it. After that, you no longer have to reboot because XP apparently keeps the different size fonts on the system. But if you reconfigure the font sizes on Vista, you have to reboot every single time. Now, I like Vista better than XP overall, but it's little nuances like that that make me wish Vista had never been born. Slow Express. Now, why is it when I press the Express button on the Microsoft Update page, I still get prompted? I still get asked if I'll accept the license, and then I get other prompts. Now, it's not like I ain't accepted a license in the past, and it's not like the license terms changed that much. You'd think that Microsoft Update would remember this kind of stuff, or at least put a cookie on my system that tells Update that I've accepted the license in the past, and will likely do this again in the future. Heck, they could even add a checkbox to the page asking me to opt in of future updates unless the terms have changed. Oddly, when you install a Microsoft game, the Express install takes off and goes. Similarly, when I install an ATI driver and specify Express, it don't prompt me unless there's a problem. Express should mean Express. Why is the installer hanging? Now, recently, I needed to uninstall an application from a system of a family member. So I fired up the Programs and Features control panel, clicked on the app name, and clicked Uninstall. Now, the appropriate dialog box popped up asking me if I really wanted to uninstall this fabulous application. I clicked OK. Now, a few minutes later, I was still staring at a hung progress bar. I looked at the taskbar, but only the uninstaller and the control panel names were visible. I almost decided to cancel, but on a whim I moved the window. There was another dialog box under the uninstall window that kind of required input. It wasn't visible on the main screen and didn't show up in the taskbar. Stupid, stupid, stupid.